Welcome back for the second ever episode of BBQn Sports. I just want to give a shout out to everyone who listened in to our first episode and all 6 subscribers we picked up in the last week. We appreciate all the support we get, and just subscribing helps. It makes it look like we're making progress. So if you want to help us out, just hit that subscribe button. Today we got a good episode planned for you guys. We got the Royals, we got the Chiefs. We're going to talk about the win against the Browns and what's coming up this week against the Ravens. We've got another beer to rate for you guys. It's Good Luck from City Barrel. City Barrel is one of my favorite breweries. Before we had a little one, we visit there frequently, not as much anymore. But they made a beer in honor of the Chiefs season, so we're trying that today. It's a lager. We'll tell you how that is a little bit later. But we're going to start out with the Royals. Salvador Perez hit home run number 45 today. Weaver and I were in attendance, so we were fortunate enough to see that. Weaver was actually in attendance last night for home run 44. Royals 4-3 since the last time we talked, so they're doing pretty good. Weaver, what do you have on the Royals?
Yeah, so you kind of touched on it. We're 4-3 since the last time we had our podcast. We're 5-5 in the last 10 games. We did take 2 of 3 from Minnesota this weekend, and then with some pretty awful pitching, I did get to see both the losses this week against Oakland. Was really fortunate to be at both those games though, because we did get to see Salvi's 44th home run, and then with you today, I did get to see his 45th home run, and that was tie most home runs by a catcher ever. So that's pretty awesome. That's history. I love to be at those kind of games. I do want to ask this question because I like to be at these games, and we kind of touched on this before. But while we're on this topic, what was the biggest sports moment that you missed, or game that you wanted to go to, or you maybe had a ticket to, or you didn't go to? Because I mean, mine or one of mine, but I think nobody, you haven't really talked about yours.
So actually, I have a good friend, Derek Forsyth. He used to go to a bunch of sporting events. He had tickets to Kobe Bryant's last game, the one where he scored 60 points. It was a heck of a farewell. I watched it at Buffalo Wild Wings, but there is no doubt I wish I could go back and be in attendance for that game. I did have to buy my flight out there, but I did have a ticket if I went, and I honestly can't tell you why I ended up not going. I've been fortunate. I've been to a lot of good sporting events. Me and you have been to a lot of good sporting events together. But that's one that, man, I wish I could get back.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember we watched the replay of that game. Like you recorded it. We watched it like 3 times. I think you watched it like 50 times because Kobe scored so many points. It was such
Yeah,
an amazing game.
I had it recorded on my TV and I've watched it multiple times. I'll just say that.
So I feel like I've taken most opportunities I could to go to big games and see big moments. Obviously, you know the one I'm talking about. We both had tickets to see Miguel Cabrera clinch, quote unquote, the Triple Crown. It's kind of funny because the whole conversation between me and you has been that it really wasn't that big of a deal because he didn't do anything. He just didn't lose the Triple Crown while he was playing that day. But another funny moment, I just got a note on this, is that my dad left in the 9th inning of the 2014 wild card game. He doesn't like extra innings, and that's like, yeah, that's crazy, right? Like, who does that?
What? If
Yeah.
anybody was going to do it, it would be your dad. He would leave. He'd be like,
Oh
"No,
yeah,
I'm not staying for extra innings. I'm getting out of here. I'm beating traffic."
extra innings suck. Traffic. He walked over to the motel bar and got drunk. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You guys knew the bartender over there. I can't remember her name.
Lorraine.
Yep.
Lorraine, if you're listening to this, we had some good times over there. That's for sure.
Anyways, back on the story of the Royals. We both had some predictions last week about wins. I was saying in the 74 range. You were saying in the 78 range. Do you still want to hold to that 78? There's, 16 games left?
16 games.
There's 16
we got a
games
double
left,
header.
and there's 66 wins. You still thinking 78?
I don't know. As bad as the pitching was this week, I mean, it was some of the worst ball I've seen. Today was horrendous. I mean, last night I didn't really notice it. I guess because we were putting up a lot of runs. But today was just brutally bad. I mean, if the pitching doesn't pick up for this last little week, and we'll see Daniel Lynch got taken out of the game today. Yeah, we might not get anywhere close to 78. So
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it was. Yeah, did they use 6?
I didn't look up to see how many we.
I'm
used,
looking it
but
up
was
right now
way too many.
actually because we used a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I did leave just a minute early to get my daughter, so that's why I didn't know about the 7th. Probably came in after we left. But yeah, 7 pitchers and a losing effort. That's never good. I agree with you there. I think 73, 74 is still realistic. I think 70s, I'm not going to lie, I think 78 was pushing it even when you said it last week. They would have had to hit a good stride there. But 73, 74, that's playing 500 baseball. I think you can expect that from them.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. We talked about Salvador Perez playing DH last week, and it was because he was pulled out early last night and then brought it, and it was a day game today, but they had him at the DH today. I thought that was funny.
Hot day. Warm days like that, them 1 o'clock games. Typically, your backup catcher is in there. Salvi has had
But they kept him in the
streak.
lineup. They put him in DH. So
Yeah,
they put him in the
I mean,
lineup.
absolutely. They got. I mean, why wouldn't they? You know, I was very irritated Wednesday because they took him out, and I get it. We were losing by 6. I do, but the guy's got a historic season going. You know, and I think what really just irritated me is we did come back, and it would have been bases loaded with Salvador Perez at the plate had they not taken him out.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But going back to the schedule, Cleveland's sliding. They're 3-7 in the last 10 games. So second place, probably not, just because it's a little far out. But third place, I think we could probably get there. Detroit might pass Cleveland, and then if Cleveland keeps playing like they're playing, we're gonna pass them. We still got 5 games with Cleveland. So
Yeah.
moving on though. I mean, there was some potential big news for Kansas City. Well, some slightly big news, some speculative. But first of all, Dayton Moore was promoted. It was announced that he would be taking over president of baseball operations. And then JJ will take on the GM role. But, I mean, as Dayton Moore said, basically nothing's changed. Dayton Moore's still going to make all the big decisions. So it's really nothing new. I think I'm speculating here that maybe the role of president of baseball operations is basically because we have an ownership group, and Dayton Moore is just going to be taking on more of the financial side. I don't think John Sherman or any other ownership group really needs to be bugged by, hey, can we spend this much money? I think that's pretty much going to be on Dayton Moore now. Now, obviously, that's not going to mean we're going to go out and spend a bunch of money because we can't, and they would fire him. You know, it's a job. You know what I mean? So
I think it's like he said, it'll be discussed. He just gets the final say. So I mean, I think they'll still refrain. They'll say, hey, you're not spending that much money, but also he'll get final say in the money they do spend.
Absolutely. And then the next big news, and it was during that, I guess, press conference, was they were possibly looking at taking the new Royal Stadium downtown.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've known they've talked about for a while. I think it is, and they didn't really add anything to it. It's what everyone's been speculating. But I think the fact that they brought it to people's attention is big news. I mean, obviously they're seriously considering it. If they're going to come out and say it in a press conference, hey, we're considering this, they wouldn't do that if they weren't seriously considering it.
Here's the thing. I don't even think it's a consideration. I believe this deal is already done. I mean, the fact that Mayor Quentin Lucas was tweeting out that there's big news coming, and this was the big news. It was not about president of
he
baseball
said,
operations.
How he said it makes even prove it's big news. It's this. He said his tweet said something along the lines of "big news for Kansas City today," It wasn't even the Royals. So he's saying the city of Kansas City. He's saying it's definitely the stadium. You claim that there's a spot already for it. Where's that spot? 10th and Cherry?
10th and Cherry? 10th and Cherry.
I looked it up after you said that, and there is nothing there. There is no businesses, so you might be onto something.
I mean, they were talking about this like 5 years ago. I remember looking into it, and this was the whole thing, and I don't know. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I believe that there's like essentially not allowing anything to go in there because this is the plan all along. Well, and it's going to happen.
It is kind of weird. It's right off 35, and I mean, it's a spot that like right around the corner. There's stuff there, and then where we're talking about, there's a gas station. That's it. There's like one gas station. That's all. So I mean, you might be onto something with that location.
And so I mean, I think they're still beating around the bush. I don't think they just want to drop it out there. It's that kind of it's a strategy really to drizzle it out there, get everybody used to the idea, because obviously there's going to be some people that don't like it. I mean, tailgating's not a big of a deal at Kauffman.
All I have to say is Kauffman can go downtown. Arrowhead better not move, because tailgating is part of the Arrowhead religion, and you aren't moving the tailgating. You aren't moving Arrowhead. Don't do it. Don't think about it. There will be a riot. It won't turn pretty.
You know they want to, though. You know they want to.
That would be a terrible idea. I've been to Rams games. When it was in St. Louis and there was nowhere to tailgate, it felt like it wasn't even like a real event. Like, it's not like going to Arrowhead. And there's a lot of stadiums like that. Like, they don't have places to tailgate. Tailgating is part of the event.
Oh, well, especially for Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not that many teams that, well, there's none that really have what we have here.
I mean Green Bay. Green Bay's comparable.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's not. It's different. It's different because most stadiums are downtown.
Most people probably don't get to their stadium at 7 a.m. like we do on a noon game, 6 a.m. like we do for a noon game, or even a 7 p.m. game getting there at noon. Most people probably don't do that, but in Kansas City we do, and it fills up fast. It's not just a couple people. It's waves of people showing up that time early.
I'm there at 6 o'clock in the morning before they even let us into the parking lot. I'm not first in line.
All right, so I think that's all we have for the Royals. Let's move on. We've got this good beer here from City Barrel today. Good Luck is what it's called. I enjoy City Barrel a lot. Before we had a daughter, I spent a lot of time there. This is a lager, so Weaver likes lagers, so it's a little bit of both of our worlds. He likes lagers a lot more than IPAs, and I like City Barrel, so this is the beer we went with this week. What do you think, Weaver?
Well, if anybody knows Kelsey, he does love City Barrel. So I foresee a lot of City Barrel reviews in the future. It's good. It's a really good beer. It reminds me of the first time I had a Boulevard Wheat or a Blanc de Bruxelles. I'm not gonna go all the way, but I'm gonna go a solid 9. This is a good beer. This is a really good beer.
So I'm not a big lager drinker, but we are doing different scales. Like last week was an IPA, so an IPA and a lager are on the same scale. Both 1 to 10, but they're on their own separate scales. So I've got to take it from a lager drinker's perspective. I'm going to be honest, I could see myself just sitting around drinking this beer during Chiefs games, to be completely honest. I actually really like this beer.
I might give up Busch Light for this beer.
That's saying something. That's crazy.
That's saying something.
I may have to take this home so my dad can try it if you're going to give up Busch Light for it. This might be right up his alley.
Beer. It's a really good beer.
I'm gonna go 8.5 with it. 8.5.
And I think after we cycled through a lot of these beers, we might revisit it. Like I said, I didn't want to go the full distance of a 10. I mean, it's a second review. but this is a really good lager.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I was gonna give it a 9, but I didn't want to give us the same.
The
same
same again.
The same number 2 weeks in a row. So I went with 8.5 because I wanted to leave room in case we tasted a better lager. I'm not giving any 10s, so
yeah.
I got to leave for that 9.5 in case we have a better lager at some point. And I can't.
I just can't wait. I can't wait for the time where it's like, oh, this is a 9-1. You know, it's like just a little bit better than that, but not this. But anyways, yeah.
After we try enough beers, we'll do it.
We're by no means sponsored by City Barrel.
Unless
but
they
good
want to
luck.
give us a call.
Yeah, if they want to give us a call, we would be more than happy to review all of your beers.
Yeah, I'll review all City Barrel beers.
So yeah, City Barrel, good luck, American Lager. It does say Go Chiefs on the side. 9. Solid 9.
So it sounds like we both agree that it's a pretty dang good beer.
It's a good beer.
So from that, this past weekend we smoked a pork butt. We made a TikTok about it. If you haven't seen it yet, better go check out our TikTok, BBQn_sports. Go check that out. And then this coming weekend, we're going to do some ribs for the Sunday night game. And I got a nice little tutorial on everything I did with the pork butt. And then Weaver had a nice little monologue of the finished product, I guess. But yeah, go check that out, and then check out the ribs we do this weekend. Like I said, we like to smoke the meats. So anyways,
the meats. Let's specify there. So we did have several comments on what Kelsey said on the first podcast during the introduction. We do appreciate everybody's comments and suggestions and things that they would like to see. If you do have anything you'd like us to try, whether that's a beer or some rub or barbecue sauce, when we do smoke some meats, we would love to hear from you. You can definitely comment on the YouTube channel as well as TikTok.
All right, so on to the Chiefs. I just have my cursor over on that. Did you see that? Oh, I guess you can't see that. Give me just a second. All right, on to the thing that we've all been waiting for, or at least I've been waiting for, talking about our Kansas City Chiefs. Off to a 1-0 start against a Browns team who looked pretty good in Week 1, honestly. But the Chiefs pulled it out. Patrick Mahomes looked good. That young offensive line did pretty well. Myles Garrett did pretty well on Orlando Brown a couple times, but he had some pressures, but didn't really cause too much havoc. The defense looked suspect at best, and Tyreek Hill, 197 yards receiving, big game on, I think, 12 receptions. Travis Kelce had 76 yards receiving. But I brought up a big question last week. Who's the third receiving option?
I've got the answer for you right here. There isn't one. So I got the stats right here from Pro Football Focus. And Tyreek Hill targeted 15 times, caught 11. Travis Kelce targeted 7 times, caught 6. Mecole Hardman was the next. He was targeted 3 times, and he caught all 3. Now, that's great. That totaled for 19 yards. After that, it's not even relevant to talk about it. I mean, it's bad. That being said, that's all we needed to go to. We didn't need to go to anybody else.
I knew you were going to say that, but do you think that Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are going to combine for 273 yards every game this year?
Well, no. 197 yards from one guy is absolutely
That's not sustainable. And I understand that Travis Kelce will have a 120-yard game, but in order for them to even keep that pace, let's say Travis Kelce has 150 next week. Tyreek Hill has to follow up his 197-yard game with a 120-yard game or 125-yard game to match what they did this week, and that's just not realistic. And
yeah,
I think the Chiefs' offense is definitely good enough, but if we want to win a Super Bowl with how we play, we've got to score 30-plus points every week. And
yeah, keep going. You're good.
I mean, that's it. That's all I have to say. I don't think.
Yeah.
Unless you're relying on one guy to have 200 yards receiving every week, which isn't realistic, I think that adding another piece is I think that's something we actually need to do. Like, I don't think it's something I want to do. I think it's something we need to do.
Are you suggesting we make a trade?
There's a guy out there who the league just said could play football again. He's been in trouble quite a bit, but
Oh God.
give him a contract that he has to earn. His name's Josh Gordon. He could be that third option. Give him a contract where he only gets his money if he plays. Give it a shot. We can cut him if he's a problem. He's been cut many times before. He's no stranger to being cut.
I don't know what our cap room is, but he's gonna have to come in on a pretty sweet deal.
Well, I mean, he's not getting a lot of money. He hasn't played in the league. He hasn't played more than 2 games in like how many years? He played 2 games for the Patriots a couple years ago, but it's been a while since he's played a full season. He's only played like 2 full seasons the whole time in the league, and that's what 8 years.
That's true. Yeah, and Demarcus Robinson, he's going to get more targets. He was only targeted twice. Byron Pringle was only targeted once. So there's going to be games. The games are going to be a lot different than last week. I think it just worked out the way it was. Tyreek Hill had a big week, and that's that.
I don't know. I get what you're saying. The problem I have is there were times when it looked like we didn't know. I mean, our offense played very well, but there were a couple times it looked like we didn't know what to do. Like we didn't have an answer on offense. There were a couple drives that we struggled, and it seemed like Tyreek Hill bailed us out time and time again. I feel like if there was a guy, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are the last guys the defense are giving us, but the other 3 guys are the guys that should have the open looks. And we can't even try and target them because they can't get open.
I mean, maybe they're not that good, but the thing is, I mean, the Browns' defense is good. I mean, we played against what a top 5 defense.
No, definitely not.
You don't think it's a top 5 defense?
Last year they weren't even top.
That
20.
pass rush. I mean, the pass rush was pretty good.
They're definitely better this year than last year, but they were like 23rd ranked defense or something last year.
So you don't think they're going to be top 5 this year?
No, I think they'll be top. They'll be like around 10th, somewhere in that range, 8th to 10th.
Well, time will tell. Time will tell on that one. I think they're going to be up there, close to 5 this year.
I mean, I think that let's be realistic. Like the best defenses, maybe the Rams. The Rams might be the exception. The Rams are one of the best defenses, and they have a good offense. But like the Steelers, Washington football team. Those are a couple of the best defenses. They don't have a very good offense.
If you're right, and that's only a top 10 defense, then we're in trouble. I mean, I don't know who else.
We still produced. I mean, I'm talking about when we get to the playoffs. You're gonna need a third guy at some point. Like, I mean, teams are gonna focus on Kelce and Hill. When you play good teams and you need someone to step up, who's gonna be that guy?
Well,
because I'm not worried about the
up.
Chiefs. I'm not worried about the Chiefs in the regular season. The Chiefs are going to win 13 games. I mean, we'll be fine. But
now I don't know how many targets were to Hilaire if he had any. He might not have had any. I'm not 100% sure. I know we did have we had 8 attempts behind the line of scrimmage, and we completed all of those. I don't really remember Hilaire really being a part of the game.
He had,
Am I
think
wrong?
he had like 8 carries for 40 yards or something like that. But
Yeah,
he doesn't get targeted a lot in the passing game because he can't be a 3-down back. He's not. I think the reason for that is because he's not good at protecting the quarterback. That's why I assume Darrell Williams is our 3rd down back. That's why Darrell Williams usually gets a lot of attempts. That's why Darrell Williams gets more passes thrown to him because on 3rd down, he's the one who's in there.
He's getting targeted as running from. If he's getting targeted, he doesn't need to block. He just got to hit the guy and move on. Like,
yeah, but you
guy
want a
plays
guy
in
in
the
there
NFL
on
is
3rd
really
down
who
who
can do that.
can
do either. Yeah, I get audible's going to happen. Maybe something else changes. I get it, but
because Mahomes gets lines
the guy
from him and
plays
says,
in the
hey,
NFL.
this guy's coming.
He's just going to have to do better. He's just going to have to do better.
Easier said than done. I agree, but that doesn't mean we don't need to fix our problem. I agree that he needs to do better, but you can't just say do better and expect like something miraculously happen. As a GM, you have to be looking for that person who's going to fill that role.
This beer's still really good, in case anybody's wondering.
It is good. So yeah, I mean we escaped 1-0. It wasn't pretty early on, but
Would you call it an escape? I mean, really. I mean, we were down Matthew. We were down Frank Clark. Yes, the defense looked shaky. A little bit shaky. I think last week I said something about we get off to these slow starts, and I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just always feels like we get off to a slow start on defense. But when it came down to it, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, they pulled the game out. Chris Jones was, I mean...
How much were we down at one time? Were we down 2 touchdowns or 10 points?
It was at least... It was 2 scores, right?
Yeah.
2 scores?
Well, it was 2 scores, but was it 2 touchdowns or 10 points? I can't remember.
I don't think it was more than 10 points.
So, I mean, I would say, yes, we escaped with a win. We were down 10 points. We definitely got ourselves in a hole. Most teams are not going to come out of that. Now, most teams don't have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
so,
we're not most teams.
No, I agree. And I think that's one thing that people in the NFL realize now. There's no lead that's safe when you're playing Kansas City.
I mean, look at Baker Mayfield. As soon as we knew he had to throw the ball in the fourth quarter, his decision was only that he could throw the ball. He fell under pressure. He threw a pick because the linebackers dropped back. We weren't scared about Nick Chubb running the ball, so our linebackers could drop back. There was nobody open, and he threw a pick. He's not an elite quarterback.
I still don't. I mean, I don't think. I think he's in that second group of guys.
It's a large gap between the second group of guys.
I think probably in like the 10 to 15 range, somewhere in there if I ranked all the quarterbacks.
I mean, that's fair.
I think I still go back to that drive though where they threw the ball 3 straight times and they didn't need to. They helped us so much there. And the reason why I threw it 3 straight times is because they threw it on first down and got sacked. But still, run the ball. Like, give the ball to Nick Chubb. I don't know what they're thinking there. So the rest of the AFC West, the Raiders escaped with a win against the Ravens. I would say that's a big win for them.
Best game. That was the best game to watch.
I don't think the Ravens looked especially great, to be honest. Their O-line struggled. Their defense, they continue to blitz and play man on the outside, even when Derek Carr throws for 420 yards or whatever it was. I think with Marcus Peters down, they probably should rethink leaving their cornerbacks on islands out there, but we'll see what they do there. And then you have Chargers escaped with the win against Washington. I feel like both those games were pretty similar. The Raiders-Ravens game, neither team wanted to win. It's just at the end someone had to win. They both kept trying to give the game away, but at the end someone had to win. Same thing happened in the Chargers football team game. Neither team wanted to win that game. They both kept trying to give it away, but someone had to win, and the Chargers ended up being that team.
I know you had money on the Raiders game, but I wanted a tie.
Yeah, I mean, I mean the Raiders ended up covering and not the Ravens, so I didn't win anyway. But
yeah,
but it's not legal to bet in Missouri, so I didn't have money on it. And then you got
you flew out to Vegas and placed that bet.
Yeah, I went out to Vegas. And
obviously.
And then the Broncos, who you don't want to give any credit to, looked.
No, zero. They beat the Giants.
They looked good, dude. I won't say this. Here's what I'll say. They looked better than I expected them to look. That's what I'll say.
The Giants looked better than you expected them? Okay, so they weren't.
The Broncos looked better than I expected them to look. I don't know what the score is now, but when I came down here, the Giants were playing a good game in the first half.
Last in the division. That's where the Broncos finish. Sorry to my Broncos fans out there. I know.
Giants are up a field goal with 8:46 to go.
I got a few friends that are Broncos fans. I'm sorry. They finished last in the division.
So I tend to agree with that. I think the Chiefs win the division, and I think the Chargers and Raiders. I honestly think the Chargers and Raiders, both teams. The Chargers are probably capable of winning 10 games this year. I don't think they will. I think they'll be 8 or 9, and I think the Raiders will be right there too. The Raiders might be like a game behind.
I thought it was very clear Chargers, Raiders, Broncos before last week. The Raiders looked pretty good, I thought. Pretty good.
You know what's weird is the Raiders had the lowest over-under on wins. Chargers were first. Broncos were like a half game ahead of the Raiders at second. Or it was Chiefs first, Chargers second. Broncos were like a half game ahead of the Raiders, and then the Raiders were last.
You would fly out to Vegas.
Weird to me.
Bet.
Yeah. So yeah,
before we move on to next week, though, we got to touch on a couple things. First of all, Nick Bolton. We talked about him last week. He played 3/4 of the game, 76% of the snaps.
They more or less started him. He was in the first quarter.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't start, but he started. Okay, 4 solos, 3 assisted tackles, two tackles for a loss. The guy was a diamond in the rough. He was great.
No, he did
in my opinion,
for his first game, he played
for a rookie performance. He played really well.
You saw him his name a lot in that game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was in the big place. I mean, I think we both were talking about that during the game. But the other thing we got to touch on a little bit here, I feel like, is Greg Lewis, and it doesn't look like he's gonna face any kind of penalty, or punishment for what happened. Do you think he should? And if you don't know, Greg Lewis was the coach that got into kind of what, quote unquote, little bit of an altercation, I guess, with the safety for the Browns, Ronnie Harrelson.
So here's the thing. I actually do think he deserves some kind of, I don't know. I don't know if it's a fine, a suspension. I don't know. So here's the problem I have. First of all, the Browns player stepped on, I think it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire when he was on the ground.
Yes.
Stepped on Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the ground. I don't even know if he did it intentionally, to be honest, but he did it. He did step on him. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not. The Chiefs,
my opinion is it wasn't. It didn't look intentional.
It didn't look intentional to me, honestly. Yeah. And there was a lot of high emotions at the time. The Chiefs coach came and shoved him, and then he shoved the Chiefs coach. Yeah, I don't. As a coach, you got to be smarter than that. And
yeah,
it'd be different if the guy was like going after his player or something, trying to get him off of him. But I'm pretty sure it was unintentional. Pretty sure it was inadvertent. And it honestly, he's the one who escalated, to be honest. The coach is the one who caused the issue in the first place. And the Browns player got kicked out of the game, so good for him. Good move by the coach. But, yeah, you can't do that as a coach.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it was intentional. I don't think he was meaning to step on him.
I don't either.
Should Greg Lewis have pushed him? I understand where Greg Lewis was. He's like, hey, get off my player. Completely understand it. But you got to be able to hold yourself back. I feel like it's unfair that Ronnie Harrison got thrown out of the game and there's no punishment for Greg Lewis, to be honest.
I agree. I'm just, from the perspective of a Chiefs fan,
and
good thing they could say.
And granted, Ronnie Harrison's push of the coach was a lot more aggressive, quote unquote, than Greg Lewis pushing him. But yeah, I mean, I don't.
Both of them were in the wrong in the end. But the problem is the coach is the one who escalated it, and as a coach, you got to be smarter than that.
Yep, absolutely.
So we've got the Ravens this week. First of all, we've had the Ravens number. Since Patrick Mahomes has been in the league, we've had their number. The Ravens, for some reason, continue, like I just said against Derek Carr, they continue to blitz and play man coverage on the outside. I don't know if they'll do that against us this week with Marcus Peters being out. I assume that they will work on something a little bit different. But they have continued 3 games in a row against Patrick Mahomes, continued to blitz and played man coverage on the outside, and Patrick Mahomes has torched them every game. I hope they do it again because Patrick Mahomes will torch them again. But I think the bigger problem for the Ravens right now is their O-line looked terrible. The Raiders' defensive line is not that good, and the Raiders were in the backfield every down against Lamar Jackson. The Ravens' left tackle just went down, so Charlie Villanueva, who they signed in the offseason from the Steelers, is originally left tackle. He played left tackle in Pittsburgh. He played right tackle for him this week. Villanueva was on that horrid Steelers offensive line last year, did not play well, and he will be starting for the Ravens at left tackle this week because their left tackle went down. So Ravens' injury issues just keep piling up, and now it's hit their O-line. Frank Clark will be playing. Tyrann Mathieu will be playing. Frank Clark and Chris Jones better be in that backfield. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. So they're also going to be without Marquise Brown as well. But I mean, it looks like that way. He hasn't practiced again today. But you touched on it. Matthew's going to be back. Frank Clark's going to be back. I don't even know. I mean, that's enough right there to make a difference on the in the defense.
Matthew being back is enough to make a difference.
It's gonna be different.
Hold on, I forgot to mention this. Dirty Dan last week had the game-sealing interception. Whether you like him, whether you hate him, Dan Sorensen makes another big play. He just adds another big play. There's a lot of people who don't like Dan Sorensen.
Get them people out of here.
He just continues to make the big plays. I don't know what it is about Dan Sorensen, but he's in the right place at the right time. Anyways, back to this week. Tyrann Mathieu's back.
Yeah, Tyrann Mathieu's back. I love it. Can't wait. I do think our defense is going to be better. If the Ravens stick to that same defensive scheme, they're never going to beat us. Like, you can't play man on man.
So the thing is, they usually have such, their personnel is usually so good that they can do it against most teams. But against Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, you can't do it. It's not going to work for you, and it's never going to work for you. I don't know why. At least against us, they don't change things up, but they continue to do it.
Just stop doing it. Just try something else.
You saw Derek Carr torch him last week.
And here's the thing, like, well, they have pretty. I mean, I think the Raiders have some pretty good offensive weapons there that definitely beat man to man. I mean, I don't know. I'm a big Ruggs fan.
I know.
I don't like the Raiders, but I love speed. They also Waller is a really good tight end. I feel like.
Speaking of that, Waller, I don't know if he broke the record for targets last week or not, but I think they targeted him like 15 times in the first quarter or something like that. It was something stupid.
He's good.
Yeah, but they didn't even complete half of them. He was targeted like 15 times and only had like 6 catches or something.
I need to go back and watch it, see if that was his fault or not. But I still think he's good. Anyways, yeah, I mean, if they stick to that defensive plan, I don't think they're going to beat us. But here's the thing. They're still a good team. This is why I thought that we would lose a few games as the beginning of our schedule. The first 5 games were just tough. Eventually, the Ravens have to beat us. We're not going to sweep them for the rest of eternity.
I agree with that sentiment, but I think the Ravens, I do think they've been a good team. I think from what I saw last week and the injuries they have, and now it's hitting their offensive line too, I don't see the Ravens winning more than like 8 or 9 games this year, honestly.
It's like sitting at the roulette table and you just keep betting on red because it keeps hitting. Black's going to show up eventually.
Yeah, but the difference is we're not betting on anything. We have Patrick Mahomes throwing the football, so it's a little bit
that's
different.
True. That's true. And here's the thing: Lamar Jackson's got to step up in the moment. He's a really good quarterback. I mean, he's a good quarterback, but he's got to step up in the moment. I think that's the one thing he's missing so far. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I think that my honest opinion is Lamar Jackson is a top 7 quarterback in the league. Lamar Jackson is good, though, for different reasons than Patrick Mahomes. And
he's still a good thrower, though. I mean, he still throws the ball really well.
Patrick Mahomes and his weapons, I just don't think Lamar Jackson can keep up scoring the ball. I think he benefits usually from the Ravens' defense playing well and their running game moving. So we've seen it before. I don't think that. I don't know. Here's the honest truth, though. I don't think anyone can. I just think it takes the right combination. Like, it just has to be that day. Like, the Buccaneers, we played them 10 times last year. We probably beat them more than they beat us. But, you know.
Well, I mean, you can't be, sideways throwing the ball and hit your receiver in the face. I mean, literally in the helmet. But that's what I'm saying.
The Chiefs
last year, that's just bad luck.
They lost Week 17. They lost in a horrible game against the Raiders. That game will never be duplicated. And then the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. Like, obviously the Chiefs aren't unbeatable because things happen. The planets align and they lose. But there's no team on paper that you're going to look at and be like, man, this team should beat the Chiefs this week. Like, there just isn't. The offensive firepower.
Yeah, they got
you can be down by 3
two of the best
touchdowns,
offensive weapons.
and they have the best quarterback, probably the best tight end, and one of the top 3 wide receivers, and a decent defense. Like everyone acts like the Chiefs' defense isn't good. They were 10th in points allowed last year. They were top 10 in passing yards. They were top 20 in rushing yards. The run defense would be our biggest issue, but I don't think a team could run all day against us and keep up with Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think it really matters that much. The Browns might be the exception.
I do agree. Yeah, and I think the Browns are probably the closest, really. But teams that do run the ball well, those are the only teams that scare me. The longer they keep it out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, that's just more opportunity for them to win the game.
See, and that's what people say a lot, and I don't really agree with that. So it's been it's been proven if you run X amount versus if you pass X amount, it only changes the amount of possessions by like 1. And the Chiefs still get just as many amount of possessions as the other team. Yes, it limits it 1 less opportunity, but I think the key is just being efficient on offense. Like you have to score when you're on offense. And the reason why the Browns scare me is because their run game's so good that they can run it down our throats and score every time and keep up. Other than that, I'm not really worried about Derrick Henry and the Titans running it down our throats and scoring every single time because they have to score every time. Or else the Chiefs, like we saw in this game against the Browns,
they didn't look that good last week, anyways.
Yeah.
But that being said, yeah, maybe overreaction. I'm with you 100%. I don't want to see the Browns in the playoffs. Do not want to see the Browns in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not a.
But
I would say
sticking
in
with
the AFC, that's probably the team I want to see the least in the playoffs.
But sticking with the Ravens here, are we going to regret not having Sammy Watkins this week?
If you're asking if the Ravens are going to win because they have Sammy Watkins, no, I don't think they're going to win because they have Sammy Watkins. I already regret that we don't have Sammy Watkins, though. If he stays healthy, he would be a great piece. He would be a great third option for our offense.
He played okay last week.
He did.
I need to look up his stats, but
I know he had a couple big catches in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, they ended up losing.
So
he
only had 4 receptions, but it was for 96 yards. So
yeah, it's funny because Sammy's an explosive player. He's quick, but on that Chiefs team, he just looked like another guy.
Yeah, but I mean, he's going to be the number 1 target.
Yeah, if Marquise Brown isn't playing, he'll definitely be the number 1 target. Or the tight end. They have Mark Andrews.
Andrews is pretty good, but he didn't. I didn't see he was underutilized. I felt like last week.
Yeah, I know he had
that
that
him on
one,
fantasy.
I know he had that one that he actually
fantasy.
dropped. Yeah, I think the Raiders were playing cover 3 and they ran him across the field, and Lamar Jackson threw it over his head, and it was like right in front of him. He just couldn't get to it. I remember that. Other than that, I don't really remember him being thrown to a lot. So what's your prediction for the score this weekend? Wait, hold on. What were our predictions last weekend? What was the final score? You predicted 31-24, right?
I believe that was correct.
I predicted 35-24. What was the final score? 33-29. So really, I mean,
yeah.
I guess you were closer because the game was closer. It was 31 and 35 right in between us, but the Browns scored more points.
Yeah. So this week, I mean, I still feel like it's going to be a pretty high scoring game. Obviously, I'm not going to say we're going to lose. 34-24 Chiefs.
I was gonna go with 35-24 again, but I gotta change it up now. Actually, you know what? I'll go 31-17 Chiefs.
Wow, you're not giving Lamar Jackson a lot of hope there.
It's not Lamar Jackson. That offensive line did not look good, man. He was running for his life, and Lamar didn't play bad on Monday night, but he just didn't have any hope. They looked bad in my opinion. They did not look good, and the Raiders looked better than I expected. But the Raiders looked better, and the Ravens looked worse than I expected.
Yeah. All right. Well, so again, want to thank everybody that listened. All 6 subscribers. Appreciate all 6 of you.
We do appreciate everyone who listened. Just keep coming back. we'll get this thing down. We'll get better.
Yeah, hopefully we fix the audio issues. We did have a lot of issues tonight with losing connection. Hopefully we can get that all cut together and it sounds okay. But do appreciate all the feedback. Continue to send it our way. Definitely want to see the comments. If you have any beers you'd like us to try, or rubs, or barbecue sauce, or barbecue, anything Kansas City related that you want us to cover or go see or talk about, we'll probably go do it. I mean, we don't have any issue doing that. The last thing I'd like to say is I did try to cut back on the ums. I just said again, but did try to cut back on it, so I appreciate that feedback, Josh.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. And don't forget, don't quit smoking the meats.
Meats.